Good morning and welcome to Counterpoints. We do have a quick announcement. Ryan and I have 2 long days coming up here, actually, because the debate special, the Breaking Points debate special, where we're bringing together everyone in the Breaking Points cinematic universe, right? That's happening tomorrow night. We could put this graphic up on the screen, 8 p.m. Eastern. There's also a fun graphic where Ryan is trying to figure out why he's so angry. We can put that one up on the screen too.
And Emily looks like she wasn't ready for the picture.
Yeah.
And she's like looking down at her phone and they're like, oh, we're doing this now? Yeah.
You know, that happened to me one time in the outfield playing softball.
And the ball like landed on your head?
Well, I had to go like put my glove up and my phone fell out.
Oh my goodness.
My coach wasn't happy about that. 8 p.m. But tonight, we will also be moderating a debate for Zero Hedge on the border. That's going to be at 7 p.m.
Is that live or that post later?
I think it's live.
Okay, all right.
So 7 p.m. tonight, but
we'll put some details about that somewhere.
Whole Breaking Points universe tomorrow, 8 p.m. for the presidential debate, which is totally a first in history. We're going to talk about that.
Robbie's going to be in that debate, right?
Yeah.
Getting the Rising crew back together.
Yes,
yeah. Open Borders, Robbie.
Yeah, Open Borders, right. And Ryan,
me and Robbie linking up.
Excellent. And we'll have nachos on the table.
Excellent. Look forward to that.
Okay, so now that we have the programming notes out of the way, we are going to start by talking about the debate today. We're then going to go over the election results. Super, super buzzy stuff. Obviously, Ryan quite literally wrote the book on the Squad, and the Squad is front and center as we have results coming in from primary elections all over the country last night. We're going to talk about a terrible split screen playing out in Kenya, where 400 Kenyans arrived in Port-au-Prince yesterday, in Haiti, and also there's at least 22 deaths so far in protests over a new tax bill.
Yeah, back in Nairobi, all hell is breaking loose while, Kenya is sending, on behalf of the United States, an international invasion force into Haiti. So we'll break some of that down. I'm going to talk about the disclosures from the Portland, Oregon race that we covered about a month ago, where AIPAC, as we reported at the time, was spending millions of dollars secretly to influence that race. They were finally, a month after the election, forced to disclose their actual funding. And despite their denials, you're going to be shocked, it actually was AIPAC. We're going to unpack how all of that unfolded. And then at the end of the show, we're going to be talking to Theodore Postal, who's one of the chief kind of nuclear war experts in the world, and in world history, since we only have since the 40s to think about nuclear war. He's gone back and forth from the Pentagon to MIT as one of the most respected voices on this. He is warning that the Ukrainian strikes inside Russia are putting nuclear war at a much higher risk than it was before Ukraine started striking Russia's early warning nuclear detection system. It's pretty frightening and kind of should be leading the news all around the world.
Yeah, you would think.
Kind of like a first order thing that I think we all want is to not die in a nuclear annihilation.
And yet, here we are.
We'll put it at the end of the show, though.
The only ones talking about it at the end of the show. Well, let's start with the big news, which is that a historic debate is still, as of right now, set for tomorrow. I continue to be a cynic about whether it will actually happen. It seems pretty likely that it will actually happen at this point, but Hillary Clinton is weighing in. Let's put A1 up on the screen. Hillary Clinton wrote an op-ed for the New York Times where, as the Fox News headline put it, she complained it's, quote, impossible to defeat Trump and a, quote, waste of time to refute his arguments. Ryan, the thing I pulled out of this op-ed from Hillary Clinton is a quote where she says, unfortunately, Mr. Biden starts from a disadvantage because there's no way he can spend as much time preparing as I did 8 years ago. Being president isn't just a day job. It's an everything, everywhere, all at once job. Historically, that has led to weaker first debate performances for the incumbent. So I feel like this op-ed, which she dropped a day before dropping her big book announcement, it was kind of a nice 1-2 PR punch for Hillary Clinton, savvy as ever, but I think she's trying to lay the groundwork for a mediocre Biden performance by publishing an op-ed in the pages of the New York Times saying it's an impossible job.
That's always what I say after I lose a debate, is that it's just an impossible task and it's a waste of time. Yes, but on the other hand, it is kind of an impossible task to debate Donald Trump. Can you imagine? Then Hillary has actually done it. And she had Philippe Reines as the guy trying to pretend to be Trump, but nobody can actually be Trump. He is one of a kind in basically world history. So you get out there and you have no idea what on earth is going to come out of that guy's mouth. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if it's going to work because nobody's ever said it before, nobody's ever tried it before. So it's not something you can even train for. And it's not as if either Biden or Trump are going to be getting into like the nitty gritty of tariff policy or, you know, one of these like 1980s or 90s debates that gets like super wonky.
Yeah.
Like that's just like nobody expects anybody to go remotely near that. If these candidates can string together a sentence from beginning to end, that is like grammatical.
It's a real win.
Yes. And if they can even put together a paragraph that can be transcribed and you read it and you're like, yeah, that's like 8th grade level, and it like makes a clear point, that would be a win for either of them. But I don't expect either of those things to happen. What we are expecting, though, are some stunts.
Yeah.
And Hillary Clinton remembers that right after the Access Hollywood moment, Donald Trump responded using, Steve Bannon's idea of bringing 3 or 4 women who had accused her husband of sexual assault to the debate.
Yeah. Sat them like in the front row.
And had a press conference with them before, an absolutely extraordinary moment. And so now people are speculating, based on some leaks and hints from the Trump campaign, we can put this next element up here, of who Trump is going to bring this time. Like what kind of event he's going to try to create. And one thing they're suggesting is that he might bring family members of people killed by immigrants here in the United States. Do you have any insight from the Trump camp as to what kind of show they're planning on putting on?
Well, there was an interesting report. This is actually just the next element from Byron York over at the Washington Examiner. This is A3. We can put it up on the screen. I'm going to read from it. Trump told the Examiner, what they did, I'm pretty sure, is that they approached me with a debate that I couldn't take. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, and then Byron put in brackets, Trump referred to the CNN anchor commentator as fake Tapper throughout. No audience, sitting down, originally sitting down, a dead debate. Turn off the mics when you're not speaking so I can't interrupt him. They knew I wouldn't accept that because it was CNN, Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, and I like an audience, and probably he doesn't. Who knows? So they thought they would present it, I would say no, and they would say we can't debate because Trump said no. So I said yes, before they even gave me the terms. So he got roped into it. Interestingly, that's Trump explaining how he even got Biden to agree to a debate. And one of the things, in terms of the stunt question, this is the reason I described this debate as historic. Obviously, debates happen all the time, but some people may be aware this is the first debate in modern history that's happening without the Presidential Debate Commission. Is that what it's called? Debate committee, debate commission?
Well, it's the first one since the commission was created in like the 70s.
Right, right.
And it's the earliest ever.
Earliest ever. First since the debate commission was created in the 1970s, meaning that sounds maybe like a small thing, but what it means is that it's totally uncharted territory for CNN. It's totally uncharted territory for the campaigns. And so much negotiating actually goes into this. I mean, it's just, you saw what Crystal and Saga reported yesterday about Breaking Points not being able to pick up on the stream of the debate. I mean, this is stupidest little piece of negotiating leverage, whatever they have.
You would think that a debate would be public for everybody to stream or whatever. But
yeah, you would absolutely think that it would be, but this is uncharted territory. And so I think that Donald Trump is going to be reacting just in the next 24, 48 hours. And we don't really know. And I think he doesn't really know, which is why he is also doing something similar. Hillary Clinton doesn't run an op-ed in the New York Times without the Biden campaign knowing what's going to come. And that's why I think Trump talking to Byron York and being like, why did I agree to fake Tapper? Well, you know, it was the only way to get Biden to debate. I think he's also trying to lay the groundwork for mediocre performance because frankly, they both performed like, I'm trying to use mediocre as an adverb, mediocrely back in 2020.
And there's a funny moment in that interview, kind of after that exchange, where the interviewer says, "Okay, yeah, but you couldn't actually say no to a debate, could you?" And he says, and this is what people love about Trump. He's like, "Yeah, you're right. No, I couldn't. There's just no way I could do that."
Well, and then
and everybody knows that. Every politician knows that. But he's unique in that he'll just say it. Yeah, I couldn't have said no.
Right. And he also said something really interesting recently, reflecting on, he's like, some people told me that maybe the reason I won was because of the debates. And that's why, I mean, again, they're doing this in late June, but that's why the debates are important because I think Trump is correct that one of the biggest reasons he won the primary and then won the election in 2016 is because people did not expect him to handle Hillary Clinton the way that he did, and obviously the other GOP candidates. And Clinton didn't perform well juxtaposed with Donald Trump, not as well as people expected her to. I agree with her and with you that it's an impossible job because he's, what was he called yesterday by RFK Jr., yeah, the best debater of his generation, or in a generation, or in American history.
He's just, he's in a different league, and I don't mean that necessarily as a compliment.
Right.
He's just different. It's like,
he's special. Yeah.
The way, like, if you grew up like being some Oxford debater like Hillary Clinton, and, yes, and now all of a sudden the guy's just saying wrong, and like saying he's gonna lock you up. It's like, how do you
bringing women that your husband is accused of sexual assault and putting them in the front row?
How do you respond to that? And with Biden, let's not forget one of what Donald Trump did to Biden in 2020. He showed up to the debate knowing he had COVID. Remember this? And
yeah, I forgot about that.
And then he skipped the COVID test. Like, he's calling for a drug test this time, because he's accusing Biden of being on performance-enhancing drugs, as if Trump hasn't been, jacked up on, meth and Sudafed his entire life. But Sudafed,
we think he's a Sudafed addict?
He's on some type of uppers. You're distracting me from my very good point that I was making, but Ronnie Jackson, a congressman, jumped into the fray and said that Biden ought to be drug tested ahead of this debate. Ronnie Jackson was Trump's corrupt doctor,
yep,
who was pumping him full of all sorts of who knows what.
The entire White House staff. When he was
the White House doctor. Yeah, and prescribing it like off-label to all the White House staff.
Yeah,
and then Ronnie Jackson's going to come in and talk about performance-enhancing drugs. Are you kidding me?
This is
I've forgotten whatever a wonderful point I was planning to make.
But this is actually relevant because I think to Ronnie Jackson coming out and saying that, Trump saying that, this is why I still think it's possible the debate gets called off in the next 24, 48 hours. Because again,
they can't fill their prescriptions.
They can't fill their prescriptions. Also because the incentive for both of them to back out and make a big deal of it shifts as, if he can make a political point about Biden not agreeing to do a drug test, as stupid as that sounds, Biden could never agree to do a drug test. Everybody knows Biden could never agree to do a drug test.
That's absurd. Like,
of course it is, yeah. But from the political perspective...
Is he serious, though? I don't think he's serious. Because then Trump would have to take a drug test.
I think it shifts...
And Trump after 7 p.m. is... Like, come on.
But Trump also just said that he basically called CNN's bluff. I think he would be willing to call Biden's bluff if the incentive shifts so as much that, Biden refusing to take a drug test. So they're not debating because Biden won't take a drug test. If Donald Trump wants to roll with that.
Trump's going to pee in a cup before this debate.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
No, but I think he knows that. And again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying there are a million different variables up in the air right now because all they agreed to do this with was a network and each other. A network and each other. It is not the same, and we're only in June.
Why shouldn't the moderators have to take a performance-enhancing drug test, too?
I'm all for it.
No.
I'm all for it. Maybe we should
implement that in your counterpoints. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you're not on drugs, then you're disqualified. So anyway, I continue to think that this is a very tenuous situation because of the way the debate is set up. I think it's going to be a mess if it happens for CNN because of that exact reason. They're doing commercial breaks, so someone's campaign comes in at commercial breaks and says, you're cutting the mics too much. They're going to be cutting the mics. Trump is going to be yelling. It's just a mess.
So I would recommend actually for Biden microdosing shrooms because I don't think that would show up in a test. Mm-hmm. Now you got to be careful. Like, you go a little too heavy on that.
You're Janet Yellen.
It's going to be an interesting debate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worth a shot.
Maybe Janet Yellen can actually give them some shrooms. She can administer the doses clinically.
Does Janet Yellen have a background in psilocybin?
Remember in China, she...
oh, that's right.
She was sipping tea, I think.
That's right. She accidentally dosed herself.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's amazing.
Again, people think Joe Biden, like there's not unserious people saying that Biden did this to agree to do this earlier, that Democrats agreed to have Biden debating early so that they could have a contingency plan in place for the convention in August. I don't know if there's truth to that, but a lot on the line tomorrow.
What I've heard from the Biden camp is that they do recognize that they're losing to Trump and felt like they needed some way to shake the race up and that so therefore they needed an early debate. At the same time, they're very unconfident about how he's going to perform in the debate And the thinking is, okay, well, this is worth a shot, and if it works, great. But if it doesn't, it's far enough away from the general election that people will have forgotten this debate performance. Those two things, if you've figured it out, are contradictory. Like you can't, on the one hand, hope that a good debate performance is going to catapult you to the White House, but believe that a bad debate performance isn't actually going to hurt you, because those ideas are in contradiction. Either the debate matters or it doesn't. But contradictions have never stopped anybody from moving forward with what they wanted to do anyway.
Although they can also both be so weak that it just neutralizes each other's weaknesses, which I think actually is what happened in 2020.
Yeah, and the other thinking among Democrats is that people don't like Donald Trump in general, and so the more you can get Donald Trump in front of the American public, the worse off it might be for him. And liberals, by kicking him off of Twitter, Facebook, basically deplatforming him, getting him out of people's faces, have actually done the thing that Trump's advisors were trying to do for years. Getting him to be quiet. Which is getting him to calm down and stop putting his foot in his mouth and saying outrageous things that infuriated people. Nobody could accomplish that except for the social media platforms driven by kind of democratic outrage.
And yeah, nobody's on Truth Social.
And so now they got to bring him back and put him in people's faces and be like, remember this guy? Like, you liked the economy under him, but you didn't like him, remember that?
Right.
And hope that that's enough.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.